Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Creating Synergy podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Franco, and also Managing Director of Synergy IQ. Today, we have a very special guest all the way from the US, Bob Burg, who is an international best-selling author of The Go-Giver and 8 other amazing books in sales, marketing, and influence. With over 1 million copies sold and published in 30 different languages, The Go-Giver is a little story about a powerful business idea written in parable form. It is a highly acclaimed book and has been rated number 10 on Inc.'s magazine Most Motivational Books of All Time and HubSpot's top 20 highly rated books of all time. I personally have read and absolutely love this book and can attest to it that it has had a huge impact on me and my life and brought me many valuable principles over my time. In this podcast, Bob and I dive into his journey as an author, the global success of The Go-Giver and its main message of how giving and not getting is the key to success. We discuss the 5 laws of stratospheric success that's outlined in the book. These are the law of value, the law of compensation, the law of influence, the law of authenticity, and the law of receptivity. We talk about how these laws work and how serving others is the secret to stratospheric success. We talk about the importance of providing value and how to do it without costing too much money, and the difference between a win-win and a losing proposition, and how to manage the balance of giving and achieving one's own objective. So join us for a thought-provoking conversation on how to achieve success through the power of giving and how The Go-Giver has impacted not just my life, but millions of readers worldwide. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Bob Burg. Welcome back to the Creating Synergy podcast. Today, for me, is a very, very special podcast. I've been humbled that the great man Bob Burg has accepted to come on the show. I'm a big fan of your books, Bob. I'm obsessed with The Go-Giver, and so I just really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Bob, just to kick off, for those who might not know, you are an author of 8 books, with The Go-Giver being an international bestseller with over 1 million copies sold and published in over 30 languages. It was rated number 10 on Inc. magazine's Most Motivational Books of all time and HubSpot's top 20 most highly rated books of all time. You must be very proud with your achievement with the book.
Yeah, we're very happy with the reception it's had. I, of course, had a fantastic co-author, John David Mann, who was really the lead writer and storyteller, because it's a parable, and 3 of the 4 books in the series are parables. And, without his writing expertise, this never would have happened. So, team effort.
What context do we need to know about Bob Burg to understand how you ended up in the world of writing and becoming an author and selling, almost creating this global phenomenon of The Go-Giver?
The very quick story is that I started out in broadcasting, first in radio and then television. I like to say, graduated into sales. And after floundering for the first few months because I didn't know anything about sales, I began getting books and, tapes. That's how long ago it was, cassette tapes. And started attending seminars and studying sales and became successful selling. But what I really loved the most about it was the personal development aspect, because you really had to grow on the inside, right, in order to manifest that success on the outside. So it was just something I enjoyed, and I enjoyed being able to help people own a really great product or service and so forth. Eventually, I worked my way up to sales manager of a company, and eventually I started being asked to share with other teams what was working for me and for my team. And that's when I kind of morphed into a speaker, a professional speaker. And from there, you write books as a way of positioning yourself in the marketplace. Yep. And then I had a couple books out on selling and, communication skills. And then the idea for the Go-Giver. And that's when I teamed up with John, and that's really how it happened.
Did you ever think that it would take off the way it has?
It's a great question, Daniel. I was confident that there would be a market for it and that it would do well. I'm not sure that you can ever know that it's going to take off as it did, because because involved in that is a lot of people getting behind it. So to have leaders, corporate leaders, organizational leaders, sales leaders, and different types of groups that were not even business related get behind the book and start sharing it with people, start, spreading the word. That's what made it happen. So it's sort of, started out with something that, I thought was going to be successful, but then it really took off and took on a life of its own.
It kind of really stores faith in humanity, the art of being able to give back, right? It's something that we don't see too often these days. And I know that it is successful because there is an art in giving, and it really is something that I think all leaders or all aspiring leaders or entrepreneurs or salespeople, particularly, I'm big in the sales department. I know I've listened to a few of your podcasts with Anthony Ianiello. I'm a big fan of his as well. I absolutely love the concept of giving. It's kind of something that I've innately done my whole life. And then when I picked up this book, it was almost as if, yes, absolutely. But the other 5 laws that go with it kind of round it off. And I thought it was just very, very clever. It really hit the mark for me.
Thank you. Well, a lot of people who embrace the book are really the first adopters of the book. We're the people like you who are already very successful and had already been living their lives and conducting their businesses this way. And so the book didn't teach them anything new. It just really more affirmed what they were already doing. But when we talk about giving or in the context, the question, what do you mean by go giver, right? Yeah, it's really simply understanding, and this is whether you're in sales or whether you're in leadership or just in an employee within a company, and it's understanding that shifting your focus, and this is really where it all begins, shifting your focus from getting to giving. Now, when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others, understanding that doing so is not only a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's actually the most financially profitable way as well. And not for any way out there, woo-woo, magical, mystical type of reason. No, it actually makes very rational sense. When you're that person who can take your focus off of yourself and instead place it on serving others, again, whether you're as a salesperson or as a leader, right? Serving others. Looking out for their best interests, discovering what they need, what they want, what they desire, moving your focus off of yourself onto helping to solve their problems and take them to where they want to go, helping move people closer to happiness. Well, people feel good about you. People feel great about you. People want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you. They want to tell others about you. As a leader, it's the difference between, as my great friend, leadership authority Dondi Scumaci, as she puts it, the difference between commitment and compliance and commitment. Right? Compliant is doing things, is insisting on people doing things for your reasons, where commitment is helping them do things for their reasons.
Yeah. I was taught at a very young age to the old saying, treat others the way you want to be treated. I was taught at a very young age that was almost a fallacy, and it was treat others the way they want to be treated. And so reading this, it really stands out for me, and it's fundamentally to my core. So thank you again. We grew up with the terminology, the go-getter, right? Go get 'em, right? Get out there and achieve. And you've not kind of turned it on its head, but you've added to what already a beautiful ecosystem, haven't you?
I love that you said that, because
like you can't just expect by giving that something will come back to you without actually putting yourself out there, can you? Am I correct in saying that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad you said that. You said it perfectly. People think the opposite of a go-giver is a go-getter. It's not. We love go-getters.
Yeah.
Right? Go-getters take action.
Yeah,
and,
correct.
we know you and me and everyone watching this and listening, we all know that you can have the nicest ideas, the best thoughts, the greatest of intent, but without action put into the mix, nothing's going to happen, right? So we love go-getters, people who are people of action, and go-givers, people who are absolutely, ultimately laser-focused on providing immense value to others. The combination is powerful. Be a go-getter and a go-giver. Just don't be a go-taker.
Yeah.
That's that person who feels almost entitled to take without having added value to that other person, to the process, to the situation itself. Go-takers as leaders do not make great leaders, right? They can have employees, but very rarely a team, and very rarely a committed team, right?
Yeah.
Go-taker salespeople can have clients, but very rarely repeat clients, and more rarely referral-based clients. So it's actually, you can succeed by being a go-taker. You can succeed financially but it's a lot of work. It's a lot more work to do it, right?
It's a constant hustle,
because
isn't it,
it's not based on that foundation, right? And so it's actually much more profitable as well as a much better feeling about yourself to be both a go-getter and a go-giver.
Yeah. What do you think the reason? I know this is such a big question, and it's probably one for another podcast, but why is there some people that start with the base of giving, and then there are others that start with the base of taking? Is it the background? Is it environment? What do you think? Is it you talk about survive, save, and serve in the book? Can we elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, let's look at why people, a lot of people have that kind of go-taker mentality, right? And really it comes down to human nature, that as human beings, we're self-interested, right? Yeah. I mean, that's, it's just a fact of life. It's human nature. And we, by the way, we don't suggest that you try to deny the self-interest that is part of your being, because it's part of human nature. What we say is put that self-interest to the side, right? Kind of temporarily suspend that self-interest, because here's the reason why. Okay. And this is something, and I know you've got a lot of leaders on this program, so this may not totally, relate to them, but when I speak at sales conferences, okay, one of the first things I'll say, Daniel, is nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet.
That's true.
Okay.
100%.
Nobody's going to buy from you because you need the money, and nobody's going to buy from you just because you're a nice person. They're going to buy from you because they believe that they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so. So it makes absolute logical sense for that salesperson to put their interest to the side, because the other person's not buying for their reasons, right? So focus on that other person. Now, as a leader, it's the same thing. No one's going to follow you and help you accomplish your goals because you would like them to.
Yeah.
They're going to do it because ultimately they believe it's in their best interest as well. Now, their best interest could be wrapped up in many things, including just being part of a great team and wanting to follow a wonderful leader who they know has their best interest at heart. One part of human nature also, on a very positive side, is that we want to feel as though we're that we're part of something bigger than just ourselves. We want to feel as human beings that we're making a contribution to life.
Yeah.
And we do that a lot through our work. That doesn't mean we can't do it in other ways too, but we do it a lot through our work. So when I say human nature, that doesn't mean it's bad or good. It just is. How it manifests itself is the difference maker. Now, another reason why a lot of people are go-takers in business is because they've been brought up to think that's how you're supposed to do it. Right? It's that dog eat dog world. You've got to be brutal and you've got to step on others' toes. Well, where do we see that? We see that in the movies all the time. Mm-hmm. We see that on television. We see that in the newspaper.
World, to a T, isn't it?
Right. Right. And by the way, sometimes there's some truth to it in that people do it that way, even if it's not the right way to do it. Yeah. And so that, so people learn, they live what they learn. Yeah. And other people, when you say, why are some people go givers by nature? Well, because they learn that way. I was very fortunate. I got brought up by parents that taught me that way. Yeah. So, and other people did as well. And sometimes you're lucky enough to have a mentor that.
Yeah, there's something really fundamentally for me. I have been brought up like yourself, Bob, with the art of giving, and I almost do it selfishly, right? I actually get pleasure out of giving it. Do you know? Yeah, is that a common thing that you see?
It's not. Well, it is common, even though people don't necessarily know that, and people don't want to necessarily say that. But it's very true. Let's take another kind of issue. This is not a business issue, but let's just say we're talking about, in this case, charity. Okay, which is not what the Go-Giver is about, by the way. Yep. Even though we believe in it, and that's a great thing. That's not what the Go-Giver is about. But I'm just bringing this up just to make a point. Let's say you give a whole bunch of money to a cause you believe in. Okay, animal shelter, the local animal shelter. Okay, animal rescue. Okay, you write a big check to them. Yeah, I'm going to suggest you're doing it because you feel good about yourself by doing it. Correct. Because it's congruent with your values.
Correct.
It's not selfless at all. In fact, we could say it's selfish if you really want to, right? Correct. Because you're doing something congruent with your personal values. You feel better about writing out that big check than you would feel about yourself if you didn't write out that big check. Okay, so now let's go back to the business world. It's the same there. Okay. When you do something, when you make a connection for somebody, when you share your knowledge with someone, when you help a client work their way out of a difficult situation and help them do something spectacular. Okay. Yes, you're getting paid for it, which you should, of course. It's not one or the other, right? It's both. You're doing something because you feel great about it. You're helping another person. And you're also earning a really great income from it. Correct. That's how it's supposed to be. Too often, we're brought up with this treacherous dichotomy, the false dilemma, the unnecessary use of the word or. You're either a giver or a receiver. No, you're both.
You're both.
You're a giver of great value and you're a receiver of great value.
Well, I mean, it's the law of the universe, isn't it, really? I think you think about there's day, there's night, the tide goes in, the tide goes out, the sun comes out, the moon comes out. Like there's summer, there's winter. It's the way of the universe. It's always yin and yang, isn't it?
Pindar said to Joe, just try to breathe out without breathing in. You can't do it.
Can't do it.
You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving, you breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. Giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem. Now, and as you said, it's universal law. It's laws of nature. Yeah, human nature, but also physical nature, right? We plant before we harvest. We sow before we reap. We give before we receive. But what we know is the giving does come first, right? The giving comes first. But when you do, you create that benevolent context for your success. Then you've got to allow yourself to receive.
Yeah, that's an art in its own right, isn't it? being allowed, because a lot of people think they're not worthy.
Well, and we've been brought up with so many anti-prosperity messages, right? Look how I don't know about in the beautiful land down under, but in the USA, man, I'll tell you what, if you've made a lot of money, it's like you're vilified. Oh, they must have done it on the backs of others, and millionaires shouldn't exist, and that's absolute, nonsense.
We call it tall poppy syndrome here as well. Is that the same saying over there?
Yes, I have heard that. Yes. No, but it's a brilliant Australian saying that we have heard. Yes.
Now, for those who might be interested, let's give a quick rundown of the 5 laws of stratospheric success, which is what the Go Giver is based on. Can you give us I'd love to hear it from you.
Sure. They're the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. The law of value simply says that, your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, that sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy, right? Give more in value than you take in payment. You simply have to understand the difference between price and value.
Yeah.
So price is a dollar figure. Value, though, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. And what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea that brings so much worth or value to another person that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be glad they did, while you make a very healthy profit? I often use the example of the accountant you hire to do your taxes, and she charges you, just to name a round figure, $1,000, right? That's her fee or price. But what value does she give you? Well, through her hard work, determination, getting to know you and your goals and what you're looking to accomplish, she saves you $5,000 in taxes. She saves you countless hours of time, and she provides you and your family with the security and the peace of mind of knowing it was done correctly. So she gave you well over $5,000 in value in exchange for a $1,000 price. She gave you more in value than she took in payment. So you obviously feel great about it. Yeah. But she also made a very healthy profit because it was worth it to her to trade her time, energy, knowledge, wisdom for that $1,000. In fact, in any market-based exchange, there should always be at least 2 profits, the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each of them came away better off afterwards than they were beforehand. That's the law of value.
Yeah, I mean, look, when I'm buying something, price will always be second to the question is how good a quality or what value will this add to my life? Even just as simple as buying a pair of shoes. I won't go the cheap pair of shoes because they will wear out quicker than what a higher quality pair of shoes will, right? So, yeah, it's about the value received.
Mm-hmm. And value is always in the eyes of the beholder, right? That's where you talked about earlier about, do unto others as they want to be done unto, because it's not what we find to be of value. It's what they find to be of value.
Correct.
Well, how do we know that? Through asking questions, discovering, listening. And that's how we know what it is they value. The law of compensation, the second... Oh, excuse me, go ahead.
No. I was going to ask you to continue on with the laws, if you could.
The second law, the law of compensation, says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So where law number 1 says to give more in value than you take in payment, law number 2 tells us the more people whose lives we touch with the exceptional value we're providing, the more money with which we'll receive, right? So the law of value, that represents your potential income, but the law of compensation represents your actual income because it's how many lives you impact. So we could say exceptional value plus significant reach equals very high compensation. Law number 3 is the law of influence. This says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. No, not in a self-sacrificial way or a martyrish type of way. No, it simply, as Joe, the protege in the story, learned from several of the mentors, the golden rule of business, sales, and we could say leadership, is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to and follow those people they know, like, and trust. Yep. And there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you from others than by genuinely moving from that I focus or me focus to that other focus, looking to, as Sam, one of the mentors, advised Joe, make your win all about the other person's win. Law number 4, the law of authenticity, says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. Deborah Davenport, the mentor in this part of the story, said that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. But when you do, when you show up as yourself day after day, week after week, month after month, people feel good about you. They feel comfortable with you. They feel safe with you because they know who they're getting. Yeah. And that consistency inspires trust. One thing about authenticity is, that I think people these days kind of confuse authenticity with having no boundaries. Just say what you want and do what you want because that's authentic, right? Yeah. I think that's not correct. Yeah. It's often arrogance and laziness. And, it's like the person who says, well, I have anger issues and I yell at people a lot. And if I acted any differently, that wouldn't be authentic of me. And no, it just means this person has an authentic problem that they need to authentically work on in order to become a better, higher, more effective, authentic version of themselves. I define authenticity very simply. It's acting congruently with your values.
Correct.
When you do that, you're authentic. And then law number 5, and we kind of discussed this already, the law of receptivity, we talked about a little earlier. The key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. That's the breathing out and breathing in.
Yeah.
And it's not paying attention to those anti-prosperity messages that we get from the world around us all the time. Yeah. That says you're not deserving of money or you did something wrong, you weren't honest, no. Not that people don't make money that way, but that's not something we want to emulate. And I guarantee you, for the people who are watching this and listening to this, none of us have any special favors that we've bought from government to do our bidding for us. No, we have to. The only way that we are going to earn a lot of money is by providing a lot of value to a lot of people, right? Placing their interests first, knowing that they're buying for their reasons, not ours, right?
Correct.
Coming at it from our true authentic core, and then allowing ourselves to receive.
So the stratospheric success comes from all 5 working it together in tandem, isn't it? It's not just one or the other. It's all 5.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
You mentioned something in there is helping others get what they want, right? And that's something that is a big part of the Go Giver philosophy. Zig Ziglar I'm a big fan of the Zig Ziglar, and he once said that you can get everything you want in life if you help other people get what they want. And then in the book, you talk about 50-50 / win-win, and how, we've been brought up that 50-50 win-win is that's kind of, a Stephen Covey philosophy. This kind of disagrees with that slightly, doesn't it?
Well, okay, so let me explain, because that's a great question. So what we said, what Sam, who again, one of the mentors in the story, said to Joe, forget about 50-50. 50-50 is a losing proposition. And he said, forget about win-win. Make it about the other person's win. Make it 100%. But here's the thing. We're not disagreeing with Stephen Covey at all. Yeah. He's the best, In fact, when I talk about, when I talk about business networking, I say it's it's mutually beneficial, the cultivating of mutually beneficial give and receive win-win relationships. No, win-win's actually wonderful. Here's what Sam was saying. Okay. Some people say win-win when what they really mean is, I want to make sure I don't lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So they're not really acting in a win-win way. No, win-win is wonderful. Win-win is the ultimate of what you want it to be. It's just that that win-win is not 50%. Win-win is simply both people focusing 100% on the other person.
Win-win shouldn't be, I'm just settling. Right, I'm settling just so I can just walk away with something. Yeah.
I'm not playing not to lose. I'm not trying to keep them from. Right. Exactly.
So, Bob, a CEO of a business, right, large or small, wants to create a culture of giving, wants to create a culture of giving value. How does he or she or they go about that?
Well, so the first thing we need to do, if you remember, Pindar's condition with Joe was what? He had to take all 5 of those laws. He did one a day, and every day Joe had to apply that law before he went to sleep that night. Didn't have to do it perfectly, just had to make an effort to apply it. And it's the same thing here. We take all 5 of those laws and you inculcate that within your organization. Now, But here's the thing, like when we talk about value, again, value is always in the eyes of the beholder. So if you're the leader, your first job is to discover and determine what do those you're leading find to be of value, right? But then you've got to, throughout your organization, make sure they understand that their job is to discover what's of value to others. So people in upper leadership need to discover what's of value to the people in middle management or middle leadership. And they have to discover what's important to the people and the people on the front line and the salespeople. They need to discover what's valuable to the end user, right? Everybody's job is to basically discover what's of value to the person who they are leading. Yeah, is what it comes down to.
Servant leadership.
It's only when that's exactly what it is. Sure it is. And that's really how you go about it. And as any leader knows, you make it a culture by living it and by repeating it and by getting the buy-in of those you're leading and helping them to lead and to have that same, and that's how you create that culture. But it can't be by thinking, oh, this is a good idea and then giving it one day and then forgetting about it. You've got to really decide what this is about and what you're about, and then take it to its full conclusion.
And that really is what one of the big premises of the book is. It's about influence, isn't it? It is about understanding those in which you serve and how you can help them get what they want. And then ultimately it comes back in you. I mean, we're not advocating for give so you can receive, isn't it? That's not what you're saying.
Right. And as Pindar explained, you give because it's who you are, right? Correct. Now, it's because of who you are, that's what you do, right? So it always has to start with who you are. Who you are determines what you do.
I always think about Pindar in the fact that, the chairman, the old man, or however he's referred to in the book, and he is giving of his time, right? Very much he's giving of his time. Now, I'm a leader in what is a growing business. I have often given too much of my time, to which sometimes it stops me from achieving my objectives in, the goals and the strategy of the business. How do you find that happy in between? What's your approach to that, Bob?
Giving so much time in a way that is hurting you, stop doing that.
Okay. Good. That's probably the words that I need to hear. Well, there's sometimes I'm sitting in a meeting, I'm going, what am I? This is not serving. This is not helping me move the needle of where I need to be.
Right. Here's the thing and I think this is what's so very important, especially with a name or a title like the Go-Giver. Okay.
Yeah.
There is nothing about being a Go-Giver that is congruent with being anyone's doormat or being taken advantage of, or again, being a martyr or self-sacrificial. Okay. Actually, as a Go-Giver, you've got to be able to say no so much more than you say yes, because remember, people are going to want your time in ways that just aren't appropriate. Nobody has that much right? But here's the thing. As a Go-Giver, when you do say no, you do it in a way that is kind, tactful, diplomatic, communicates to that person that they are people of value, right? And that it's just something where you're not able to do, what it is at that particular moment. If you have a resource that they can tap into, or so, whatever, you do that. Yeah. But you simply cannot do things that are going to hurt you and your family and your business in the name of giving to it, because that's not right either.
That's not what we're trying to do. It's probably words I need to hear. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Now, to round up the podcast, because I am conscious of your time, what what is one thing out of the career that you've built, the Go Giver, all the books that you've, analysts refer, all the books that you've written, what's one of your proudest moments or achievements that you've seen come from others? Not so much yourself, but that you've seen come from others.
Oh, I just can't tell you how great it feels when someone, tells me that, they read the book or they were at one of my presentations for their, their company conference or something. And, something I said or the principles they learned that they, it was just what they needed at that time. And they were able to turn their business around, or they were able to do this, or they were able, there's just no greater compliment. I talk about being charged up. I just absolutely love that. That's a proud moment for me.
I mean, you're constantly giving every day. You're almost giving while you're sleeping in this sense, aren't you? You're waking up and potentially waking up to hundreds of messages every morning with some success stories. Sure. It must be a great feeling.
Well, definitely the hundreds of messages. They're not all messages that are saying, "Hey, this is," but lots of messages.
Correct.
I think that everybody's on.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad mine cut through the noise, Bob, and I got on the conversation with you. So to round off, what's next for Bob? What are you? What's your career look like from here? What's your life look like from here? What's some of the interests that you're going to pursue from this point on?
I'm still speaking, but at 64, 65 next month, I don't take any more than one out of town or get on an airplane type of engagement. I do no more than one of those a month.
Yeah.
But we have our Go Giver community online, our Go Giver Success Alliance membership community, which is very enjoyable. We have a team of certified Go Giver speakers throughout the world. And so, my business partner, Kathy Tagenel, and I have a lot of fun doing the business, working with the people we work with. And as long as it's fun, we'll keep doing it.
Yeah, brilliant. Is there in Australia, a majority of our audience is Australia based. Is there a coach or a Go Giver speaker in Australia?
No, there isn't. We actually had one quite a while ago, a great guy, but he went back more into the corporate environment where he came from, and but he was fantastic. So no, we don't at this time. So
someone's interested to reach out.
Maybe we will again. Sure.
Very good. So where can we find and connect with you, Bob?
The best place is burg.com. And while there, they can subscribe to my daily impact emails. I send them out actually Monday through Friday.
Brilliant.
And so those are a lot of fun. So feel welcome to subscribe to that.
Excellent. So burg.com.
Yeah, burg.com.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for your time today. And thank you. And I'm on behalf of anyone that's ever read the Go Giver and all the culminating series after that. Thank you so much for the time and effort that you've put into it. It is changing lives. It is having remarkable impact, and I guess is exactly what the law of compensation says: is have impact on those far and wide, and that's exactly what you're doing. So kudos to you and John for doing that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
We'll catch you next time, guys. Thanks again for joining us. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for listening to the podcast all. You can check out the show notes if there was anything of interest to you and find out more about us at synergyiq.com.au. I am going to ask, though, if you did like the podcast, it would absolutely mean the world to me if you could subscribe, rate, and review. And if you didn't like it, that's all right too. There's no need to do anything. Take care, guys. All the best.